Is there a viable candidate for the presidency in the 2024 election?
Does the president genuinely matter in your day-to-day life? It makes me ask other questions about why do we still have an electoral college? Who are the people represented by those who are making it to the last leg of the race? Could an ordinary citizen make it to being a viable candidate who will be closer to knowing what's going on with the people having their finger on the pulse, so to speak? It's difficult for me to look at Joe Biden and not see a man who took a very stiff and stern approach while it was goaded upon by many black ministers and political action groups. But for him to promote the idea that there's so many people should be locked away. They may be unintended consequences, but nonetheless they are the consequences. I don't know if he's viable. And I don't know if Trump is viable, because they are the front runners in our political system. We have room for a dissenting minority, that's provided to us in our founding documents, that the minority has a voice. But it also tells us to choose the best men among us. So in those cases, that means the best educated, the most connected, the wealthiest are the ones who are allowed to participate. When I think about what matters more than who a viable candidate is for the national election, I think about how I'm going to be affected locally. That's in my city, my county. Then I start thinking about state laws that will affect me, and are the right people in those roles who are the decision makers and executives. Then I ask further, who's in Congress? More so than the president, because the president is the chief enforcer of the laws. I don't know if their role affects me in my day-to-day life, because I don't see it. But I do see when my governor does something, or my city council person speaks up about an issue. Something that has been a long issue, and I don't want to drive it away from the presidential candidacy, but things that matter to people locally are like road conditions.
And because it's about time we fix the damn roads.
The funding goes from our local levels, rises up, comes back down. But what did the president have to do with any of my day-to-day life? That seems, it's very lofty for me to start to think about the president's candidacy and viability. It's interesting to see the political field get smaller and smaller, though. We're down to 6 candidates now? 3 that are third-party candidate. We have 1 Republican candidate still standing, and 2 Democrats, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 3 of that group. Not a lot of politicians, a lot of thinkers. You've got Cornel West, you've got a commentator, Chink Uger, you've got Williamson, you've got, I think Phillips has dropped out of the race. You have Biden. And it's just not somebody I could support because of his push in '93.
It doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter or not whether or not they had no background that enabled them to become socialized into the fabric of society. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street. That's number one. There's a consensus on that. Unless we do something about that cadre of young people, tens of thousands of them, born out of wedlock, without parents, without supervision, without any structure, without any conscience developing, have not been socialized. They literally have not had an opportunity. We should focus on them now. If we don't, they will, or a portion of them will, become the predators 15 years from now. And Madam President, we have predators on our streets.
Even furthermore, when I think about who the vice president was, or is, she's made her bones by enforcing those policies that were not good for people that look like me. Damn! Young black man. I think having that kind of platform, whoever's the candidate, can't make people do anything other than by force of law or executive order. But maybe they should use that authority to improve the lives of not just the folks who have the money, but maybe the folks who are most downtrodden, most vulnerable. That's what makes a viable candidate to me. One who follows what the founding fathers left behind. Listen to the dissenting minority. Those with power will always rule, but don't forget the little guy.